on the map, actually. I did have it on there. Now, you are near Bromsgrove, is that right? Between Worcester?
Yeah, Droitwich, just outside of Bromsgrove in Droitwich, yeah.
Right, okie dokie. So, let me just find that on the map. I'm trying to find you on the map. Is it DSHS or is that a different one?
That's a different one. That's the high school we work with.
Oh, yeah, cool. Okie dokie. Right, so I suppose I should say hello to everyone watching, shouldn't I? Hello, Heidi. So, guys, we've got Reece Reynolds with us today. He's from CrossFit Fauna. And what I was just asking Reece was exactly where on the map we are. Now, I'm going to show you where we're. Always nice for a bit of context. Reece, we've got a lot of people from the US watching the show.
Yeah, so
So just to give them a bit of context, because it would be like me saying, or someone quoting a city or a town, a small town in the US without any bloody context. So we're up here. Border with Wales is along here. I know people struggle to realise that this is a different country over here. So that's Wales. That, interestingly, is where Travis Bajent's family are from, over here somewhere. Anyway, English borders along here. And then you've got Birmingham. And we are in here, CrossFit Fauna. So we're in there. So, Reece, thanks for joining me today. Really appreciate your time. I know you're busy working the affiliates, doing the good work on the front line. So, Reece, so you're obviously, we've seen where you are on the map. Were you born and raised in the area? Are you from there?
yeah, absolutely. So grew up in Droitwich, just down the road.
Lovely. Did you have a kind of a regular upbringing, family life, all pretty standard?
Pretty normal stuff. Sport's been the thing forever, but yeah, family, school, nothing out of the ordinary.
Cool. So, and how old are you, Reece? Sorry, remind me.
30.
30.
Yeah.
Great age. Did you turn 30 recently?
October, so not too long ago.
All right. So your body's not starting to shut down yet. All right.
Not quite yet. I bought knee sleeves this year, though.
Nice. Right, a passage that is. Yeah. I turned 40 a couple of months ago, and there's definitely been a slight mental shift in how I train and what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it all starts to change then. But again, you can use that as perspective for when you've got clients and when you're coaching. So it's all good experience, all the better. So you mentioned there's sports.
Yeah.
What kind of sports were you involved with, and what ages did you start getting involved with sport?
Yeah, I suppose the first experience of sport was martial arts at sort of 5-6 years old. Went with that for the best part of 10 years, really, from sort of, like I say, 4 or 5 to 14, 15. Competitively to an extent, as you can be at sort of a 12-year-old, but then coaching as well. That's sort of my first exposure to coaching. Used to hang around afterwards, help coach the younger kids, help coach some adults, like I say, at sort of 14, 15. Then found sort of rugby, went from individual sport into team sports as we sort of went to middle school, high school, sort of 12, 14, and then entirely shifted to rugby for the best part of 10 years then again, I guess.
Nice. Okay, so about 15 to 25.
Yeah.
Cool. Lovely. And what position in rugby did you play?
Scrum half.
Scrum. Cool. Okay. That's the quarterback of the team. From where I'm sure, I think. So 5-15. What martial arts was it that you did?
Jiu-jitsu.
Oh, nice. Okay. So you were kind of an early adopter of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't as cool then. it wasn't sort of the UFC and stuff wasn't even that big, I guess. When I don't remember it was sort of certainly growing up. But recently gone back, so that's quite cool. I've come almost full circle. The last 12 months I've started training again in the same club that I was at when I was a kid. So that's cool.
Oh, amazing. And I guess it's looking a little bit different now in terms of numbers and facilities and experience and exposure. It must be very different.
Much. Very, very different. Yeah. And even going from sort of junior stuff to adult stuff is different, right? A lot of it was self-defense and positional stuff, whereas now it's like choke this stranger out.
Yeah. I mean, obviously everyone knows about jiu-jitsu now. 15 years ago, even probably 5 years ago, I'd have probably said that it wasn't really on most people's radars what it was all
Yeah.
about. Obviously, the ascent of UFC's had some part in that, but I think that just the push generally and people wanting to find new challenges, a lot of the CrossFit scene, especially the kind of the, I don't want to say aging, maybe the more experienced or less young coaches and CrossFitters needed to find a new passion, something to compete in or something to get their teeth into, which is new and challenge them and learn new sports. I think jiu-jitsu's played a big part in that for a lot of people. Our gym that I'm at has got a brand new mat, massive matting area for jiu-jitsu. They set up a new jiu-jitsu club. Dan is a very good jiu-jitsu. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of it. My kids do it twice a week, which I think for emotional readiness and steadiness, controlling how they're feeling, positioning wise, self-defense. It's a massive part in that. So I can totally see where the value is there. So just out of interest, when you said you're at 15, your belts that you finished at, were they junior belts?
Yes, technically.
Okay. And when you picked it up again recently, did you have to kind of go back to a certain level as an adult, or did you continue on to like a early blue belt?
They've essentially said that you can pick it up where you were, but I've gone back in as a white belt. I'm like, no, I'm quite happy to start again. Do you know what I mean? I'm happy to go through the motions of it. And what you picked up on there about having something to compete in is exactly the reason I went back. It was I train all the time, right? Monday to like 5-6 times a week. And it's like got to a point where it's a bit like, well, what's it for? Just give it a bit more direction, a bit more purpose. This year was really the goal, and see it bear fruit, right? So it's great having buckets of fitness, but without a way to express it, it's kind of difficult to keep motivated sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't want to talk about High Rocks again because I keep talking about it at the moment, but it provides a very, very similar tool for a lot of people. It's a way to test your fitness that you expose yourself to at the gym. It's a way to apply that and test yourself. That's exactly what it is as an event. But as I know, jiu-jitsu is very addictive. The people that go hard, and it becomes, like golf, I guess, of 30 years time. So good. All right. So jiu-jitsu, rugby. What lessons do you think you took from rugby into your mid-20s when you stopped? What did you mainly take away from rugby, do you think?
Injuries and drinking culture. The team sport element was what I sort of really fell in love with that, I guess, when I come to it through sport, right? Leadership, definitely, certainly in the position, scrum half. Played different levels, right? Some higher than others, depending on sort of the months or weeks that were going on. But definitely the ability to make decisions that don't just affect you. Like you have to have some foresight in terms of what's going to happen next and who that's going to affect, and then how that affects the game as a whole. And then great friendships out of that as well. Absolutely great friendships out of that.
Yeah,
I think from a affiliate perspective, the club aspect, I think from rugby in the UK specifically, in comparison to football, is a big thing. So like football tends to, it's everywhere, right? But tends to have less of a cohesive clubhouse, or less like every rugby club's got a bar and there's somewhere to hang out afterwards. And I think that having a third place piece really comes into it with rugby clubs, and I think that was certainly something that I've taken away and applied in some respect in the affiliate.
Yeah, for sure. I think my brother played rugby. I played it a little bit at school level. I got a lot of mates that played it. I was fortunate enough to have Will Greenwood as one of my clients at my old gym. He lived in the Windsor area, so he used to come along. We used to talk a lot about transfer over from rugby. Obviously, he was at the top level. But I think you're absolutely right. The difference between football, or for American soccer, the difference being is that football, although you are in a team, clearly you're in a team unit, there's never a time when you're physically at one with the rest of the team. Whereas the scrum dynamic of rugby really does enforce that team effort together physically, and I think that is more of a bonding experience physically for the guys and the ladies playing rugby. So I think the nature of the actual physical act of the sport then seeps through and bleeds through to the community outside of itself. And I think that's what we get with CrossFit. We're going through quite a traumatic experience together each time we train at high intensity. And I think that does help us bond quite a lot. So yeah, it's a good point. So we're at 25. At what point did you kind of discover or stumble across CrossFit?
So a little before that, so sort of early 20s, 19, 20, I think, maybe 21 was our first time in a CrossFit gym. And that was because my mum was going. My mum had started going to this new gym that had popped up in town, and I'd followed along.
Amazing. That's such a cool story. Mum goes first and you follow.
Yeah.
Is your mum still doing CrossFit?
Yeah.
She
She trains with me now.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
All right. So CrossFit, and that would have been what, about 10 years ago, say, so about 2015-ish.
Yeah.
How did that first sort of year look like for you with CrossFit? Was it an accessory? Was it training a bit of S&C towards your rugby?
Yeah, initially it was fitness to be better at rugby, and then quickly became the thing over the rugby, and to the point where, and there was other reasons really in terms of picked up the coaching in that as well, but the fact that it was dry and not freezing cold all year round had a big impact on like the transition to CrossFit. But yeah, it very quickly became the thing. But initially was to be better at rugby.
Cool. Okay. Now, switching back a little bit, you'd mentioned about your first sort of exposure to coaching was at the martial arts side of it, with the kid, obviously younger kids and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So being in charge and leading exercise. You're 25 when you kind of finished with rugby. We're looking at about what, 5 years ago now. So about pandemic sort of time.
Yeah. So we moved to Canada, which was like then why I stopped playing for our local club. Look, played a tiny bit when we first got there as the sort of like a way to make friends more than anything else. But then COVID obviously just shut that all down, so didn't ever really pick it up again.
Okay. So it's 2020. You're in Canada. Are you able to do CrossFit when you're there?
Yeah. So I was running a gym for Bow Valley CrossFit. I was running it on behalf of a girl there, Liz White. So she owned the gym. I basically rang her and asked if she had any work. And it just so happened that their head coach was on their way back to Australia, and I ended up quite lucky in filling that spot.
Right. Okay.
So then when COVID happened, we went to online stuff, but still had keys to the gym and stuff like that. We still had some opportunity to not just training there, but coach from there as well, some Zoomy bits. So yeah.
Excellent. So I'm just trying to find is Bow Valley. Do you know if Bow Valley's still going strong?
Yeah, Bow Valley's still there. They've changed owners recently, but they're still going. They're actually CrossFit Banff now. I think they've changed names.
Right. Okay. How would you spell that? Banff.
Banff. Banff.
Oh, right. Yeah. Blimey. That's a bit of a trek away from sunny Worcestershire. Is it Worcestershire? What county are you in?
Yeah, that's it. Worcestershire.
I love being able to say Worcester properly. Let's have a look, just for a bit of context on the old affiliate map. So Banff is down here. So what took you to Canada?
We went traveling. Went to take a year, well, at least a year out was the sort of goal. 2-year working holiday visa. We went coast to coast, doing little bits here and there, work away stuff. But we knew we wanted to sort of settle near Banff for a ski season. I wasn't coaching full time before we left. I was coaching sort of for a free membership and for some pocket money, really, alongside other work. And then it was an easy thing to do traveling, right? It's the same everywhere. So yeah, got in touch. Coached at a few different gyms in and around Banff and Canmore, but then settled in at Banff for the 12 months.
Nice. We had who did I have on a little while ago? It was Magnus from Tromso. So I had a really cool guy, Magnus. He's doing really well. He's in the Two Brain kind of elite level mentor program thing. We were talking, and he travelled quite a lot, and he went to quite a few gyms. And the week after, I had a guy called Eric on, Rickard, and we were talking about this idea of kind of coaching at different countries, but CrossFit, obviously, at CrossFit affiliates and getting experience there. And there's this idea that's been floating around about kind of like a at school you had a exchange
Like
student
exchange,
policy. Yeah. So a kind of like an exchange program for CrossFit affiliates where you get coaches from around the world, and you basically just do exactly that. Just have a foreign exchange thing where you get to put them up in a house. You've got a room guaranteed. There's no worry about accommodation, and they just work at the gym. You could have like a month-long project where you swap over, take ideas and transfer. I think it'd be quite a cool idea for that. And so the guys like yourself that have kind of naturally done that on your own and done that, do you feel like you took some ideas and kind of implemented them at your current gym? We'll come on to your current gym in a minute. But do you think you took away? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was ultimately pivotal to my coaching career. Like, not just the things that you pick up that other people are doing, or the systems that other gyms use, but I think the biggest thing, and I think a lot of coaches when they're starting out in the same position, right, they go from a member to being a coach at their affiliate that they were training at. I think going and coaching somewhere completely new really unshackles you a little bit of any sort of. I think the transition from member to coach is hard, for certainly when you're new, right? I think that's, you've got to re-establish your personality. You've got to make your mark as a leader a little bit. If you've, and that all depends on what, and it helps if you've been like a decent member, right? If you've been a decent member, it's easier to transition into a decent coach. But if you've had like, if you've got lots of friends there, like the other members can find it hard to see you then in that position. Whereas if you go to an affiliate where you've got, no one's got any preconceptions of what your coaching is going to be like, they've got no prior knowledge of you or how you do things, how you joke, what your style is. I think that can be really freeing, and I think that can be really, for some people, an environment they can thrive in and really grow into.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think you have to re-establish yourself as a person when you step into the coach's shoes. It's not as easy as people would kind of assume, taking on that responsibility. But again, like you just said as well, I was coaching from 2012, and then we moved. I owned a couple of affiliates along the way, and then I moved my family to where my mum was originally from. And again, like you did with Bow Valley or Buffer now, spoke to the guys ahead of time and just said, look, I'm coming over. Have you got any work? And fortunately, they kind of adopted me and took me in. And it was really, really surreal because I'd coached CrossFit since 2012, and this was the end of 2022. So it's about 10 years after starting coaching. And bearing in mind at the time, I was at about 20,000 hours of coaching CrossFit classes. The first session that I took felt like my first one ever. It was a brand new experience without any social context. I was just this new guy that had just appeared. And it was a reminder of what it's like for a new coach to come in. And also as a new member, I think it's easy for us to forget after you've been in this environment so long, what it's like to be a new member at a gym, which is why I really like the induction processes and explaining to people what they're about to start, and how life-changing it is. But like you say, it's very easy to kind of make assumptions about how you're going to be, what kind of coach you're going to be. That old trifecta of inspirational, entertainer, and educational. So there's that trifecta, and there's a Venn diagram that was written fucking years ago about all this. And where do you fit in on that? You want to be somewhere in the middle. When you first establish yourself, you need to find that. You need to find what kind of coach you naturally sit at, and then your coach's development. and there's a lot at our disposal for that. But it, like you say, the culture of the gym really dictates the type of coaches that you're going to have there, and whether they're going to work, and whether the business is going to have the clientele that they want. So you're in Canada. When did you move back from Canada?
So we come back 2020.
Oh, right. Okay, cool. Lovely. So you came back then. And at that point, were you in Worcester area, Worcestershire, at the time? Did you come back?
Yes. So the reason we come back was the affiliate that I'd come up through decided to close through COVID and some other sort of business decisions, right? Decided to move in a different direction. So then there was an opportunity from running the gym where we was at in Canada. Our visas were going to run out in the March anyway. So this is like October, November time. So we decided to come back in. Initially, there was conversations of eyeing the affiliate, but then it turned into starting our own thing, which in hindsight has been for the best.
Yeah. It's a funny one, buying an affiliate. My second one, we actually purchased it. And that came with a lot of different challenges, let's say. Adapting and buying it into a culture that's already established.
Yeah.
It's quite a tough undertaking. It can be done, and we did it, but it took a lot more work than having to set your one up for your own, the culture sort of side. Cool. So you set up, and was that done within 2020? Was that all wrapped up in that year? Yeah.
So I'd actually signed the lease before I was back in the country. I'd got my I was on the phone to estate agents at like 4 a.m. Canadian, 3-4 in Canadian time to make it work. Had Dad go and view them. I'm like, just tell me the floor's level, and we can deal with the rest when we get back. So that was exciting. So literally got back in, picked up the keys. We sort of signed the paperwork, picked up the keys within sort of 2 weeks of being back, and then spent the next sort of 4 weeks building it out, and then open the doors and then close them again at New Year.
Amazing. Yeah. Nice. So 2021 New Year was your first sort of like proper hit, and you're open.
Well, we were shut because COVID shut us till March then. So we were shut till March 31st for those first 3 months of the new year.
Good timing.
Yeah.
So you're looking at March 21 was when you first sort of opened your door properly.
That's when we got going, yeah.
Yeah. So before I bring up your Instagram account, are you still at the same building and room as you were when you opened?
We've moved since then. So we moved, what are we now, 25, 24? We moved at the end of 23, opened January 24 in this new unit. Okay.
And what was it? What was that decision on? Was it that you just outgrew it, or was it kind of a lease, or what was
Yeah, so the lease come to a break clause, and they wanted to put the rent up by 50%, and it was just a case of that's not going to work for us. So we moved a little ways up the road. The trouble was we took that lease on sort of middle of COVID. It'd been empty for a little while, so it had got a good deal on a decent space. And then they decided they obviously wanted. The old unit's empty still.
Really?
Since we moved out, it's still empty. Yeah, but landlords.
You see that so often. They put it up and they want, and you can't really hold it against them, because if they're costing on it. Unfortunately, there needs to be this way up of, okay, this could be vacant for 2 years, and I'm not going to have any revenue now for 2 years. Obviously, hindsight's a lovely thing, but anyway, it appears like it worked out for the best for you.
Yeah, it did in the end.
Yeah. Right. So 2021. How do you go about building your community? So when we talk about, like, on this show, I kind of steer away from the sport quite a bit, because I think they get enough coverage as it is, and my preference and bias has always been about the methodology and the community and the coaching. So I want to kind of focus on that. Building your community at your gym, was that did you have a conscious decision about constructing your community at your gym, or did it kind of build on its own naturally as the members came in? What kind of took a priority when you first started? Was it just sheer numbers thing, or did you have an idea in mind about what you wanted to build?
No, it was super intentional when we opened. I knew exactly what kind of gym I wanted to run, and the kind of people I wanted to have in here and help. And we made lots of decisions. And in fact, no, we made a few decisions based around that, and then that dictated how we did everything else. And I think the culture building is something that I think super important. As a business owner, you've got to turn up and enjoy what you do every day, right? The last thing you want is to be coming into an environment where actually doesn't suit you at all. And that can be whatever you want it to be, right? But for us, it was everyday people that want to get fitter. Same as you, fully believe in the coaching and the methodology. And I think some people make out like CrossFit gives that style of stuff like a bad name. They find it hard to get away from the brand. But my opinion was always, well, if you do a really good job of showing these people what you think CrossFit should look like, well, then that's going to be their experience. 99% of the people I work with have never heard of CrossFit before. They don't know what it is. So their first experience is with me anyway. So whatever I produce is what CrossFit is to them. So we as a few examples, we don't write scores on the whiteboard. We've got an app where you can obviously track scores and stuff, and there's a leaderboard on there every day. But we don't have that as a thing we do at the end of the workout. At the end of the workout, we do an education piece. We talk about nutrition or mindset or something like that each day. I don't write RX weights on the board because I believe that should be a sliding scale. If you're fit enough, it should be heavier. If you're not fit enough, it doesn't matter. It should be lighter and adjusted daily anyway for your workout.
Yeah.
And then a few other bits again to keep all that. And I think so the decision is we're not competitive, and then all these other things are how you show that, right? If people want to do comps, fully behind them, I'll go watch if I can. Like I'll help them put a plan together. I'll go through workouts with people, but I don't necessarily highlight people's comps through our social media. Like if that's what they want to go do, and like if they tag us, I'll share it, but I'm not necessarily promoting competitions for them. I'd much rather shout about someone that's lost 100 pounds. Like that's way more. And for me, like as selfishly as I can get, basically, I get a big kick out of that. Taking someone from fit to fitter is cool, but not as exciting as taking someone from having never ran, never lifted a barbell to that's now just part of their life. I get way more out of that.
Yeah, it's sort of a reflection really on not only the percentages or the percentiles of people that actually do the sport.
Yeah.
So you think the top 0.01% are the elite of the elite, right? Then you've got a bracket of about the next 10%, so 90th percentile. They're the ones that do, your semi-finals and quarterfinal comps. Then you've probably got like another 20% of people down from there, from about 70 to 90%, that might do a battle for middle ground, or a high rocks now and again, or a weightlifting comp. And then you've got 70% of the gym that probably will never do a competition to test their fitness directly within a sport kind of confined. However, those 70% of the people are where all the community lies, and where the people that put the roof over your head. They're the one that feed your kids. They're the ones that bring the sausages to the barbecues. They're the ones that really bring home what the methodology and the community are about. And we don't want to, and I think you're absolutely right, the sentiment is there. We would never want to exclude the competitive nature, because CrossFit, by its very definition, is to go hard and fast and get things done quicker, longer, and heavier. But I think when you start to prioritize that over the rest of the clientele and the community, and it becomes a preference, that's when you have these issues coming up. I personally feel. And you've done absolutely the right thing in terms of your social media and your output and your media that you're putting out to recruit, and for families, and for your, I had a box a little while ago from Holland, CrossFit Stone Age. They've got this thing, bring your parent to the gym day. So you bring your parent workout, which I thought was fucking brilliant. I mean, it's obviously the reverse of what your mum did with you, bringing you to the gym. But we've got to think bigger than just fire breathers doing Fran under 2 minutes. Obviously that's the tip of the spear, and they're the circus that come to town now and again. But I think when you've run an affiliate, when you've been on the ground, when you've opened up at 5 a.m. enough, you tend to realize, and we're seeing that with some of the games athletes now, they're getting to a certain age, You know, I know, like, they're realizing that the high intensity piece, 7 days a week, just does not cut it for your average everyday CrossFitter. And my personal belief is that over the last sort of 5, 6, 7, 8 years, that intensity piece has got more and more common in the programming. I.e., it used to be twice a week. It's now up to 4 or 5 times a week. You're getting burnout. You're getting people this issue of grandeur. They're highlighting the fact they go in bar muscle ups and heavy snatches every day. It's not conducive with what we as a community kind of originally did. So I think we need to refocus on that, and I think you're seeing that. I genuinely do. A lot of the media that's coming out from all aspects, whether it's Savon and Matt Souza talking, whether it's CrossFit themselves talking about it. A lot of the literature at the moment is all about that. A lot of the space, the media space coming through is talking about that. So it's nice to see, and a lot of the athletes, the athletes of yesteryear talking about it. Even Josh Bridges is talking about it now. So I love to see that.
I think the intensity there, the intensity of any individual workout. I coach a lot of nutrition as well. I love nutrition coaching. The intensity is turning up 5, 6 days a week, right? That's if you find the intensity of your life in terms of like how intense can you make the consistency, not any individual day, because the same as having a salad doesn't give you a 6-pack. Having a McDonald's doesn't make you put on 100 pounds. It's what you do over the long time, right? So we, off the back of like, don't put names on the whiteboard. Above my whiteboard, I've got a committed club written down, and everyone's names who's turned up 4+ times a week last month gets to go at the top of the board. It's just where your attention goes, the effort flows. Right?
And again, none of it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
I think it's what works for your gym, your community, and the proof's in the pudding. If you've been open, longer than small businesses. I'm reading a book that Daniel Chafee recommended to me, The E-Myth, and they talk about like just numbers and stats. Like small businesses fail. 80% of small businesses close within 5 years, and then between 5 and 10 years, 80% of the remaining 20% shut. So you're looking at not a very high percentage last 10 years. And when you're running a business, you've got to think longer term. You've got to find what works for you, what works for your individual community in your area, which is why sometimes it's apples and oranges. Gyms in the center of London aren't going to have the same clientele turning up as you guys do in a rural area with a slightly older clientele that just want to kind of come to the gym, tick boxes, and feel really good about themselves, being able to live 5 years longer. There's totally different clienteles available, and we have to have different offerings for that. So finding the systems that work for you is obviously optimal and paramount to the survival of your business. And if you can't survive, then guess what? No one has a gym to go to. So finding systems that work for you, which is why I don't like criticizing systems at other people's gyms, because I think obviously it's worked for them and it's what's working for them. All I love to do is understand the intent behind it, how it's worked, what made you come to that conclusion. And I saw a post that you put, I think it was yesterday. It was yesterday, about taking the shirts off, right? So I'm going to ask you about that. But what I will say is, on my first CrossFit gym that I went to, end of 2011, and for the couple of years after that, Lee, the owner there at the time, had a zero policy like that with ours. You cannot take your shirt off. You can wear a vest. Like, there's absolutely, especially in the UK, there is zero reason for you. You don't need to be walking around with your shirt off in the gym. Just if you're someone that sweats a lot and gets hot, bring a towel and wear a vest. That was my first take on CrossFit, and I've kind of gone through that, and it's very, very, very rare now that you'll see me with anything other than a t-shirt in the gym. It doesn't, progress pics aside, and gratuitous kind of flex poses with my son. No, Zach's in Australia, so it is the evening for you. So yeah, the shirts off thing's very divisive, I think. Again, it's a very cultural thing within each of the gyms. Now, I know why Lee, the owner of my first gym, I know why, because I asked him, because all the media I saw at the time was 2011, 2012. I saw like thrown in Khalipa, all that lot, shirts off, abs everywhere, pecs, walking around, you know, in the swimming trunks. I thought that was pretty cool initially, the shirts off thing, but then I soon realized and I understood why he didn't want that at the gym as part of the culture, because a lot of the clientele in our town where we were middle-aged women with 2 kids that wanted to feel comfortable in an environment where they could come down and train and not feel like aesthetics was the goal of what we were doing. That was the purpose behind that no shirts off policy. Can you talk me through if that's always been the case and the rationale behind why you've implemented that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was one of the things that I for sure inherited from the first gym I ever trained at as well. Same as you by the sounds of things, for those reasons. When I moved out to Canada, coached in 2 different gyms. One gym didn't care so much. The other gym was the same. And I just firmly believe that if the goal is to make everyone feel as comfortable as possible, and I've got grandparents in here, and if you want to show them that this is a place that is for you, then it has to look like other places that are for them. And if it doesn't look like that, well, then they'll never feel like, well, maybe they will eventually when they've been in here a while, then they're unlikely to walk through the door because it doesn't look like a place that's for them. You don't get to walk around David Lloyd with your top off. You don't get to do that in any other real environment, especially in this country. But if you do, there's plenty of places where you can go run around the park with your top off. You can go to the beach and do whatever you want and go to comps and throw down and take your shirt off. That's great. There's loads of places for you to do it, just not here.
Yeah, it's a funny one because culturally there's just not a thing really over here, is it? It's the beach. No. You know, you might be down on Brighton Beach and see the lads with or a fucking Newcastle game with the with the guts hanging out. But so I've got a really good friend, Athena Perez, who works in the US. She featured in a couple of CrossFit documentaries early days. The video's catching up with me, I think, on your end. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. The video's just lagging.
Oh, okay. Right, it's just the picture. That's all. So yeah, I've got a really good friend, Athena, who over the years has developed. She's got a CrossFit affiliate called Scaled Nation, and she runs an online course, and that will be coming out relatively soon. She's also an author. She has recently dropped a hell of a lot of weight and is continuing to do so. Now, she is a big advocate for education. For affiliates and gyms around adaptations, considerations, and scaling for people that are morbidly obese or on that spectrum of kind of getting them moving and involved with our scene that we know works. Now, you and I know full well, and we've already talked about this, is that there's nothing more rewarding for us when we apply the methodology to seeing people go from losing 100 pounds rather than being able to do Fran under 2 minutes. It's infinitely more beneficial and rewarding to see someone absolutely changing their life with this thing that we have. Now, Athena advocates for adaptations to be made, considerations. She runs these courses. And one thing that she brought home to me quite a lot, and it really opened my eyes, and it's really helped me change the way that I look at gyms and the gym that I'm at the moment, is the optics. How are we seen online? How is our social media seen? What do we do to promote, to get the people in the gym that we can make the most change to? How are we doing that? And for me, the whole shirts off thing is all part of that. If all your media is showing hunks in trunks with the abs and pecs hanging out, and the really kind of lean ladies with the shoulders out and the abs, obviously that's really cool. We love seeing that, and that's health, and we know that that's fitness. But if we want to really attract the people that we can make the most difference with, is that the type of media that we want to be putting out and attracting them with? I don't think it is, and it's not representative of who we have at the gym. The majority of our gym members aren't like that. They're not the Terminator walking around. So I think you're absolutely right. There's a big case for optics and visuals online and how we kind of demonstrate that. And I'd recommend anyone that wants to learn about that, get in contact with Athena and have a look at Scale Nation, because there's some really big considerations that just go totally unheard of. And one of the questions that she asked me originally was, do you know the weight capacity on an erg on a rowing machine? I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
No. So and think of that, if you've got if you've got a morbidly obese person that's managed to get to the gym, and Athena deals with people that have to be brought in an ambulance to the gym, and loaded into the gym. She's working with people like that genuinely want to make a change, and that's a big deal for them, coming to the gym once a week and all these logistics. Imagine someone like that coming in, and in your complete naivety and your ignorance, you sit them on a rower and the rower breaks. How fucking heartbreaking would that be for that individual? They would never come back to the gym. So things like that, these considerations, things like skipping. Athena skips backwards because there's a lot of front-loaded body weight on a morbidly obese person. So it absolutely destroys the knees and the joints and loads up to frontal. Skipping backwards keeps them on their heels a bit more and allows for that movement and the capacity work to be built. It's all these considerations that we need to think about as affiliate owners and coaches that I think there's a lot of education out there. Anyway, I've gone on a bit of a tangent there. I just got on my high horse, so I'll come back to you now, please. So let's talk about your community a bit. One thing I did see from a little while ago, so I had a lady called Hannah. I think you might know her, Mitu, from the Academy program. Cool. So I spoke to Rebecca, and she met Birch at Rising Tides, and she mentioned that you were involved with that originally back in the day when the Academy program first started. So can you tell me about how you got involved with that? Because that's a really cool concept that like I said, I had Hannah on, so I don't want to go over it all over again. But the Academy program is taking kids from, tougher backgrounds and from different backgrounds, and allowing them to use this thing that we have, linking them up with affiliates and schools and councils. Can you talk me through how you got involved with that at all?
Yeah, so Hannah, I'm sure she told you, I was at Blueprint. That's where she trained. That's where she was doing CrossFit out of. They had started, before it was the Academy program, they had started working with a handful of kids that were in care or in touch with social service in some description. She popped in on the off chance, I think, more that she was looking for help, right? She was looking for help from coaches or anyone that might be interested in giving those guys a hand. I said, yeah. So I popped along, helped finish that sort of cohort off, coaching in the gym. Seeing that, so a lot of the people they're working with at the time were a combination of teachers and some coaches. Everyone's part-time, right? Everyone's got real jobs and whatever else. There's only so much time you can dedicate to this sort of stuff on the side. Whereas, like, for me, I guess, as an affiliate owner, full-time coach, it was less bandwidth, right, to think about these things. So I actually jumped in with Hannah, and we set the Academy up together as a CIC, as a company. I was director at the start. Then I was already working or already having kids from our local school come to us anyway. So I was already doing something similar. So the two sort of fell in quite nicely, right? From there it grew. So I wrote the sort of initial 12-week programs for schools to run as trials. Helped put that together, really. My brother, who was coaching with me when we first started, moved to Australia, which meant I lost sort of my right-hand man at the time, which meant that something had to give. And unfortunately, the Academy was the thing that, for me, I didn't have the time to dedicate to it as much as I'd felt like it deserved. And at the time, Hannah was putting a team together of more coaches, right? So it felt like a good position, a good time for me to transition out. But yeah, as I left, the thing that I just kept at our local school, like, so the CrossFit DSHS, was one of the first that we transitioned into a non-profit affiliate.
Nice. And that was the one that was on the map earlier that we saw, the affiliate map. Cool. Yeah. Oh, okay, brilliant. And you're still working with them, is that right?
Yeah, still working with them. I go there once a week and coach a session with their kids that are how do they call them? Disengaged. They call them disengaged children. They don't necessarily get on well with their English and maths lessons, as a polite way of putting it. And then I do an hour with the staff in the evening. So I do an hour with the kids in the day, and then an hour with the staff later on.
Brilliant. And obviously you find it quite rewarding to be able to do that and to continue to offer that service, which is, quite an admirable piece to add to your portfolio of people that you coach and you instruct and you inspire to do bigger and better things using this methodology, which is nice.
Yeah, and for me, it was a school I went to. Do you know what I mean? It was like I went to that school. I went to that high school. It looks the same as it did 15 years ago when I left, right? So, yeah, cool to be able to. So we put a CrossFit gym in there. We put like matted their old sports hall, barbells, all that kind of cool stuff. So, yeah, really cool to be able to give back. And so, come from an engineering background, a bit of a twist around here, but all the when you do engineering, all the tooling is sponsored, right? It's all whatever company, whether it's like they pay for all the machines to be in the engineering school, because when you leave that engineering school and one day set up your own engineering firm, the chances of you buying the machinery that you learn on is quite high. So the chances of those children at some point coming back and finding CrossFit in some aspect, in my opinion, is quite high, right? It's front loaded. If I give them CrossFit now, who knows? 10 years from now, they might be members.
Absolutely. Or coaches.
Even better.
Yeah. Good. So that's lovely to hear, because that's something that not all affiliates and coaches can attest to being able to offer. So you're in a lovely position there. So I'm sure your community are very thankful for that. So talk me through your present day gym, your current community, what your typical member aspires to do, your typical training session. I think Jody asked the question earlier on, do you do your own programming? Is that something that you do rather than sublet that out?
Yeah, we follow CAP. I really enjoy CAP. I've done different bits across the years. Really loved comp train for a long time. Did comp train in Canada, used comp train from Canada, and when we first opened up, when CAP come around, the transition from comp train to CAP was very much the time to coach. I love coaching. Did an L4 attempt, sort of last year before last. So I'm really into like the workouts, the workout, coach hard around it, right? So yesterday we had squat snatches and burpees, and to have the time to just coach the squat snatch for the best part of 30 minutes before we do a 10-15 minute workout is the real attraction from my point of view. And yeah, that's the reason. And to be honest, I think there's so much great programming out there. Even if I didn't follow CAP, I wouldn't program for myself. I think the time it takes to do such a great job of it, there's people out there that are dedicating their lives to programming great workouts from a macro view across the year, across the season. If you take the sport right down to the notes and the things like that, I wouldn't spend my time doing that when there's so many great people doing it.
No, absolutely. So when I first started doing this show, one of the ideas that I was going to do was like a main site day. So a day each week where we talked about the main site and what it'd been looking like that week and the type of workouts and what, obviously CAP is that, but a lot more detailed. Now, from when I started doing CrossFit, main site has completely changed. So the information out there, the scaling options, the suggestions, the time caps, that kind of stuff, or the lack of it. I think we've kind of got ahead of ourselves over the last sort of decade or so, where it's ramped up to set people apart, to impress with the programming, that kind of thing. People are trying to throw in so much work into the hour. There's quick transitions between, you have a 9-minute EMOM of snatch, and then you've got a minute to change over, and then we're doing some handstand work, and then we're doing some, and then it's a 27-minute EMOM, and then again, harping back to what you said about earlier, it's all down to the culture that you breed at the gym. If you set expectations at your gym as, we are a coaching gym, we're going to coach you for half an hour, and it might be on, snatch technique and looking at, your options and working around, give you a drill to do. To be able to do that, you need a higher level of coaching at your gym. You can't have the typical 2 hours a week to earn the membership coaches that come in the evenings and just read from the whiteboard. You need that higher level of coaching. So you're absolutely right. And I think a lot more people would enjoy main site and CAP, gem pop coming in. They might not realize it at the time, but the value of doing a heavy day, a 5 by 5, with the build up to it. And then it might be that you include a cool down on the bike for 10 minutes afterwards. It all depends on the time that you're willing to adapt in that. And I think a lot more people should take notice of CAP and main site and maybe implement it. And it's free. So
well, it's paid for. I was worried when we moved from comp training to CAP. I was worried about the heavy day. That was one thing that I was like, I believe in everything else, right? Everything else in the L1, I'm like, that's like a Bible, right? And I'm like, heavy day, like saying, I don't know if anyone, I like that, but I think we're gonna get pushback. They love it. That is our members' favorite day. They stand around and talk shit longer. They get to lift heavy weights. I don't like. I've got people in mind, like 40-year-old women. They're like, that is their favorite day. Like when it's bench press. And like, if I was gambling, that wouldn't be the bet of the place, right? But they love it. They absolutely love it. They love the break from the intensity, I think, as much as that.
Yeah. And again, when we talk about intensity, if you're doing a 5x5 heavy day, like me, that should be intense.
Yeah.
That 5x5 heavy should be heavy. So, and that comes with experience and knowledge. So it's nice. And when you've got people literally on the other side of the world from us, Zachary is a very, very good, well-respected L3, I think Zachary is, coach, really decent social media, really good guy, knows what he's doing, moves very well as well. I'm pretty sure, Zachary, I think you talk about CAP and main site as being the way forward as well. So he's from that perspective quite a big advocate of that. 5x5 front squats, that should be challenging. And guess what? If you've got the coaching prowess, if people can't physically forward a front rack, guess what they're doing for 20 minutes before you attempt your 5x5. We adapt as coaches. We understand that the needs, will vary. However, we're after that intent and the stimulus for across the board for everyone. And guess what? If you can't do a front rack now, if we work on that in 6 months' time, we might be able to rest the bar on our front rack and be able to move better. So we get that frontal plane loaded, and we can get you squatting properly and sort out your mechanics, which will then affect your Karen time.
Yeah, and so, I run coach development on a Wednesday. That's how I know Bex, right? For local coaches. So if you're in the area, Wednesday morning, 8:15 to 9:15, we go through, depending on what people are doing, right? So we've had coaches that are doing their level 2, so we hammer the 9 foundational movements. We go through all the other teaching, seeing, correcting, group management, presence and attitude, and demonstration stuff as well. The thing I hear more often than not is, one, coaches find it hard to coach when they've got so much to get through. If they follow Mayhem or similar programs, they've got like bang, 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 bang. Realistically, I think some of those things they're for higher level athletes. They're a 90-minute session. You're trying to squeeze that into a 60-minute class, right? And the other thing I hear is like so people transitioning from that is they're worried there's not going to be enough. Like, wow, if you coach the absolute life out of a front squat, like we all remember doing the level 1 and being sore the next day from doing deadlifts with a PVC. Like you can, if you're worth your salt, you can get out of them, and you should be pushing your highest level athletes to perform perfect movement or as best movement as they're capable of, not letting them off the hook because they want to go fast. And if you really do that, then they get more out of it because they're getting coached. They're going to stay interested for longer. They're going to pay attention to what you're saying. They're going to trust you more because you're going to give them the tools that keep them not just fit, but fit forever.
Do you do much in the way of PT, Reece?
I do some. I try not to do too much, but I do some, yeah.
Yeah, it must be hard being the owner and the main coach and doing all that.
It's funny. Every time I try and tone it down, I've literally got a lady who I now go to in Bewdley. Like I'm now traveling to PT.
Amazing. Yeah. So this keeps coming up time and time again. So as a coach at the gym, I earn most of my money. The money that puts food in my children and a roof over their head comes from personal training. Yeah. It's part of the two brain business model, allowing the coaches to earn more money with PT where necessary and where you can. I've been PTing for the best part of 13, 14 years now, and the lessons that I've learned from PT are being very specific, but those hours of personal training are really intense. If you don't know how to, you can take a hell of a lot and apply that to the group setting. But back to your point, if you are coaching a room full of 20 people properly for an hour, you might be able to get that second hour on the bounce properly at that certain level, but any more than 2 hours on the bounce,
Yeah.
you should not have it in you to be able to coach any more than 2 hours on the bounce. You need a rest if you're coaching properly.
I don't even run our classes back to back. I give there's 15 minutes between them. That's not just for me. That's for the other guy as well. Like, to coach, like, yeah, you need to go out, like, you need to be able to go grab a coffee, use a bathroom, get fresh, go again. It's not you can't do this job 8 hours back to back. It's just, you won't be any good at it at the end of the day anyway.
No. And you know, you get the feedback, you get people saying, well, it's all right for you, you've got all these coaches on hand, it's all right for you, you can do this. It is, yeah, you're right, it is all right, but we've built that system in place. It wasn't straight away, it wasn't an immediate effect. You know, when I first set my affiliate up, I was sleeping on the bloody blow up bed overnight because I was coaching until 9:30. I'd be back there at 5, so what's the point in driving half an hour to get home? We've all been there early days, but you need to put in that plan in place to be able to walk away slightly. And that E-Myth book that I was on about, that Daniel recommended to me, it talks about this. It talks about the mechanic mindset and the manager mindset and the owner mindset. When you first come in, you're the mechanic, you're trying to fix things, you're trying to be manual and you're trying to do everything. Not many mechanics move into the managerial role very well because we still want to be hands-on, we don't want to delegate, and we don't want to be that managerial role. Ideally, when we first start opening our affiliates, we're going to have to be more of a mechanic role, but we need to, as soon as we can, move away into that managerial role and do it effectively. To be able to do that, we need plans, we need systems in place that allow for that. So there's this whole education piece that I think the industry, especially our corner of it, has had to evolve over the last sort of 10 years to become a lot more professionalized, a lot more business orientated, rather than the one bloke with the dog opening up the shutter and, you know, feeding himself and the dog, and that's why he's got that business. It just doesn't cut it anymore. So you're absolutely right. Having those little things like having that 15-minute break, that's not going to have too much of a big impact on the members, but only positive. Your coaches are refreshed better. They've had their piss around the corner. They've had their coffee or a water. They've had sit down 5 minutes to themselves, reset. What went wrong? What went right in that? What cues did I give that I want to give again? What cues did I give that just absolute ate shit, that didn't work? What joke, what funny thing did I say that got a couple of laughs over there? It's little just restock, rebrief yourself and going again. It's such a big part of coaching. And that comes down to the culture of the gym as well. So I think you've got a good thing going on there.
That 15-minute gap, we did it for that. That was the reason, right? The reason was so you could grab something to eat, use the bathroom in between. Because when I'd come in open for the first, I'd come from hours on the floor, like 3 classes in the morning back to back, 2 PT, then an afternoon session. And it's like, yeah, you do it and you can because you have to, or that's the job, right? And like, you know, you smoked, you know, you're not as good at the end, but it feels okay. The other things that come off the back of that 15 minutes, not just for me, but I put it there so that everybody gets it right. And then it's little things that I hadn't accounted for, like new members don't come in and see people peeling themselves off the floor at the end of a workout. They come in and see a fresh empty room. So already that's not as intimidating as like watching the last class pile out. I know, like I've also been in gyms where it's quite funny to have that catch up and that kind of thing in between classes. But that's great for me because I'm fairly confident in my abilities and I'm happy in that environment. If you're there for the first time and everyone's laying on the floor in a pool of sweat, can't breathe, and you're like, what is this? What am I about? What have I signed up for here? Our car park is never a hassle because they've left and then the next lot come in. Those are two bits that spring to mind straight away that 15 minutes has given us that weren't really the reasons for, but have been like other bonuses, right?
Yeah. That comes with experience and listening to experience as well. Because there's certain things that, you know, like I don't know if you've got any kids or anything, but part of a big thing for me is being able to distinguish between lessons that they have to experience and learn themselves and then ones that they probably shouldn't have to learn themselves, like sticking their hand in a fire. So when we're learning how to run a gym and experience and coaching and systems, some of those we need to listen and learn from other people and implement as soon as we can. And there's others that I think are quite beneficial in learning yourself. So it all depends on the individual, I guess. So I'm just going to bring up something on the screen because I appreciate we're coming up to the hour mark, and I only asked you for an hour. Social media.
Yeah.
This kind of post right here is the type of post that will attract your next 5 members, that will get them in.
So me and my wife were having a conversation last night, actually. So that reel we mentioned earlier, the no tops off. That's got like 30,000 views today. Nothing I post gets 30,000 views. So we were like, we were laughing that that's like the first thing I've ever done. It's gone viral, and it happened to be yesterday. Off the back of that, we were talking about before and after photos and the pros and cons of those. And one of the things that she was like pushing me that's something you should do, and it's something I've never really done. Maybe one, if you really dig around, they might find one or two, but it's something I don't love. I've never really been pushed to ask why I don't love them. When we were talking about it yesterday, it's because it puts in my opinion, it puts the emphasis on the result in the wrong place. The result then is the aesthetic, the way we look, and ultimately, like, you can do it. If the result is the only thing that matters, it doesn't matter how you get there, which isn't how I feel about it. So you can do a cut and spend a week drinking just water and eating apples and look totally different and have a sick photo shoot. And there's loads of crazy things you can do in that realm in that space that exists within fitness, right? But then this is the kind of thing that I believe is, well, that's a proof post, right? That's what she's done. That's how she feels, and all those things are more likely to align with the kind of people that I want to coach and I want to help than girls in their pants.
Yeah, there's a time and a place for that, and that's not at the gym. For me,
and I'm also like, if someone off their own back, right? If somebody from the gym takes those photos and posts them on social media and tags me in it, I'll share them. If you're sharing them, yeah, I'm in your corner. I'm proud of you. Yeah, share it. But I'm not going to be the one that asks you for them.
No, exactly. It's and my point I was going to make, Ken. Morning, Ken. I jokes the same subject matter as your chat lines. So what Ken's getting at there is, in Savon's chat, I'm a bit different to how I am normally on here and at the gym in my coaching. But that does raise the really good point, Ken, of how we appear online, like this post, how we appear online, and the optics of what we are like online as a business should be reflective of how we are in the gym, not 1% of who we've got in the gym. It should be reflective of the people in the gym. And Ken is a great example of that. Ken is, I think, early 60s. Ken, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But Ken's a good dude who trains hard. He does CrossFit, and he's regularly getting these awards from his gym for being the custodian for the methodology and talking about what we're all about. His gym is using that to their advantage because they're demonstrating the type of person that they want and the type of client that they really need at their gym to make the biggest impact, as opposed to the top 0.1%, where realistically we're not going to use them to demonstrate how we can impact people's lives. That's just not what CrossFit is all about. So people like Ken, they're the type of people that do feature in a lot of successful gyms media, because that's what we're after. So I think that's what you're saying with your posts. You know, like the lady in the post I just pulled up, she's made the biggest impact. Now, Reece, your video
it's well behind.
It's well behind. So I don't know what's going on there. But I just want to, rather than boot you and have you back on, let's just quickly talk about, and then we'll wrap it up, about your community and moving forward. Are you at a point now where, do you know how many members you've got at your gym?
Yeah, 65.
65, cool. Okay. And are you at a point now where you're actively recruiting for new members? Have you got a nice balance point for the space that you've got? Is it something that you're actively looking at?
Yeah, so we can facilitate probably another 20, right? Without having to change any systems, numbers in class, that kind of thing.
Cool. Lovely. And your timetable at the moment, are you typical morning midday, and then evening classes?
Yeah, so when we moved, we actually lost we got rid of our midday class. Well,
Okay.
we didn't get rid of it. We added a 9:30, and that killed our midday class, which actually works better schedule-wise for coaches, right? So got 5:45 is our first one. Then we do a till 6:45. We do 7 till 8, 9:30 to 10:30, and then the evening we've got 4:45 to 5:45, and then 6 till 7.
Lovely. And how many people do you have in the class?
12, cap at 12.
Oh, cool, lovely. Any plans for diversifying your classes? Things like, I'll give you an example. At the gym I'm at, Erin and Dan have got obviously a couple in the morning. They've got 9:30 every day. They've got a mum's class every day. So mum fit at 11 o'clock. Mums can bring in the prams and the babies and have a scaled down version of the world midday. And then we've got kind of your PT hours. And then you've got from 4:30 onwards, you've got the comp section where people are coming in the evenings away in a different sort of space, because we've got quite a good level of athlete coming through the gym at the moment. Do you have any speciality classes at your gym?
We're
or not?
about to trial a 60 plus for May. We've got twice a week for the next 6 weeks. It's 3:30 to 4:30, a 60 plus class.
Amazing. Now, the reason I say amazing is because I am in the middle of trying to organise one of those. So I'm gonna be at you actually over the next couple of weeks. Be really interested to see how that goes, because a lot of people that I've spoken to already have a class similar to that, or you know, that I coach down the road at the National Sports Centre. So I do the S&C work for some of the athletes on the island where I live, and we organise kind of a ladies learn to lift session, and the typical age there is 60 plus. And the success that we've had in like health, longevity, joints, arthritis being, you know, alleviated, that kind of thing, just from weight training. And I'm really keen to get involved. So I'd be really keen to kind of speak to you about that and get a feel for how it's gone and what your programming looks like and the adaptions and that kind of thing. So I'll be really keen if you wouldn't mind kind of picking your ear about that in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, for sure. So we've got some members that are 60 plus already, right? In our general pop classes, and have been for years and thrive. But again, it was a kind of a conversation around, well, does this look like a place for them that they're just going to walk into? Like, generally not. We've basically got the top 1% of 6-year-olds, right? We've got top 1% of them that are willing to put themselves in that position. So it's a case of trying to help some more people. Yeah.
Lovely, excellent. All right, Reece. So, what's next for you personally? Have you your jiu-jitsu? Are you planning to compete at all?
No plans to compete really. So I've got you mentioned kids earlier. I've got a 2.5-year-old and another one on the way at the end of May. So
oh wow,
that is the next that's the next big things really for us.
Oh, amazing! Life's changing then.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, amazing! Oh well, good luck with that. It's obviously one of the most, if not the most exciting time of your life. You know, meeting a new one and raising it. So
I went. I hiked Penny Fan, which is like Brecon, not too far from us really. With the toddler on my back in the weekend just, and it was coming down. Everyone spoke to you because you got a child in the backpack, right? And I just thought it was an interesting that everything we do in here, ethos wise, community wise, is to give you a better life outside the gym. The four walls are cool, but they're only as exciting as you can make it outside. That's why we do a lot of our socials outdoors and stuff. But that was like a bit of an eye opener, right? The weekend, just like this is what you think this is for, is to be with these guys.
Yeah, no, 100%. And the last thing for me is I had a guy called Bill Anthony's on last week from Ruck Race League. I don't know if you've seen Ruck Race League.
I did Chronos. Yeah.
Oh, awesome! Have you done it?
Yeah, done it. Yeah.
Oh, don't tell me what you got, because I'm going to have a stab at it tomorrow. I've got to do it obviously before. Was it Friday? Yeah, I've got to do it before. No, Thursday. So I've got to do it today. But have you seen the top score for the men?
I quickly logged back out. The top score is crazy.
14K in an hour ruck with 20% body weight in the bag. That is absolutely fucking nuts.
That'd be my PB running pace.
Yeah. It's
for the
nuts,
whole time. Yeah.
So I'm not setting much expectations on myself for that, but I'll give it a good go. Just getting out for a walk. So yeah, but all good. So I'm glad you've given it a go. Yeah, like I said, Bill gave me a 10% discount code to give out to members and people signing up. So I've kind of been trying to push that and make sure people, if they are signing up, to get that done, because it's for really good. And Castro and Bridges and all sorts of people are signing up for it now and getting scores in. So I think it's going to be
with the 60+ stuff as well. The rookie, I'm a big fan of the rookie, and I think to way walk. And it's sort of like I mentioned my mom right at the start, but like we go for a walk like down the canal. And like if I chuck a heavy bag on and she's just going for a walk, it doesn't have to make a difference how that feels for you, and you can do the thing together, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, the reason I brought that up is getting out the gym and applying your gym stuff to real life, to getting out there, and that's why we do it. And that's why a lot of people get into CrossFit and in the gym to be able to get fitter and stronger for outside the gym. It's when we start using it inside the gym, it's sort of like a bit of a vicious circle. But yeah, anyway, I'm glad we're on the same page there. All right, Reece. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's really, really appreciated. It's lovely to get to know you and your gym and your community. I will keep in contact about the 60+ thing. And also, have you entered the score on Ruck Race League?
No, not yet.
Oh yeah, cool. Have you signed up for it yet?
I've not signed up, so I'll use your discount code.
Yeah, use that because you get 10% off and you get entered into a draw for like Road Gear and the backpack company that come on board and all that. So it's just base show, BASE show. But yeah, no, awesome. All right, Reece, thank you for your time. I hope you have a lovely day today, and I'll be speaking to you very soon.
Cheers, bud. Take it easy, man.
Nice one. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right, guys. Thanks for joining me, everyone. I've had Scotland, Australia, and the US today. That's great. Should we have a look at who Sebi's got on today? Coles. Oh, CJ's on soon. Wad Prep. Go and check him out, will you? Oh, my goodness me. Hang on. I'm going to show you what I've got coming up on my screen. We have got Linton on. When's that? 29th. Tonight. The mighty Pat Lang is on Linton tonight. Oh, I cannot wait for that. Love a bit of Pat. Let's have a look at where Sevi is. Does anyone know Sevi's gone today? And Ken, 60+ people are very needy and high maintenance, or maybe that's just me. I think we all are, Ken, to some degree, aren't we? We're all a bit high maintenance. We all have our diva moments, don't we? Personally, I think when you're a coach and when you're in the environment, right, you tend to avoid being that way because you know what it's like to have to deal with people and that on that kind of base. Right, who have we got coming up? So it would appear there's nothing scheduled for today. Okay. I'm sure we'll have a show at some point. Greg, howdy doody. Right, so yeah, Ruck Race League. If any of you need to sign up and do that, if you want any information, get in contact or go back and watch the show with Bill Anthys from last week. It was awesome. From a personal note, I will be going. Who have I got on? I've got Marcus on. So Marcus is the European manager for Go Ruck. So he's coming on. He's an American, currently living in Germany. He's coming on Monday. It's a bank holiday here. I don't know if it's a bank holiday for you guys. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it will be. I've got a couple of ladies from Coaches Education coming on Wednesday. It's a new seminar and discussion group trying to professionalize coaching in the UK. So I'm really looking forward to that and speaking to the ladies about that. And then on Thursday, I am traveling to France. Oh, that's going to set viewer records. Patty Lang, baby. Love a bit of Pat. We need different opinions. We need discussion. Anyone that is against that is for tyranny. And I don't think anyone in our chat is in favour of tyranny and shutting people down. I think part of the allure and all that is being able to talk properly. I dig the old school talk show view. I feel really weird when I don't look at the camera. Okay. Do you want me to do straight on? I like it like this because I get to look at the comments. Morning, Tyler. Yeah, so I will be off to France, where Pedro will also be. Pedro is over in France doing with the French Throwdown. I'll be going over on the Friday morning. I'll be traveling over, and I am hoping to be able to go live from the French Throwdown. Now, my take on the competitions, I'm going to do slightly different. Now, I'm not part of the media there, and I won't be walking around the show floor. My priority when I'm there is going to be talking to a lot of the fans, a lot of the community people that are in the stands and around the back stages and the vendor villages, and just getting a feel for the community element around the competition. I think that's really strong. And if we can build on that, and if we can really highlight why it's important for the community to attend competitions and why we should be going to watch these athletes and the spectacle and the circus, I think it's important for us to continue to do that, and we need to support that. It's all part of the same thing. It's not them and us. We're all one thing. So that's my hope for when I'm in France, to speak to a lot of people. So I'm not sure if anyone watching this will actually be there. I know Pedro will be, and I'm hoping to catch up with Pedro when I'm there. But I'll try and get as much content as I can and try and go live a couple of times. And that will be next weekend. It starts on the 9th on the Friday and finishes on the Sunday. I'll be there on the Friday and the Saturday. And then on Outside the Box Show with me and Yoni, we've got Lauren Khalil on the Sunday night, the Queen of Hustle. So that'll be interesting. Be a bit of fun there. And then I've got a couple of shows lined up for the week after that. However, that is me for today. Unless anyone's got any super duper questions they want me to answer. I'm not actually sure Savon's on today. I haven't seen anything programmed. Is it is it their comp that they're going to this weekend? Someone will be able to tell me. I know Eddie Hiller's on the 4th. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so that's enough from me. I've got to go and coach and train and all that kind of rubbish. So thank you for joining me. And yeah, I think so, Ken. I think so. I think that the last 6 months has been a bit turbulent, hasn't it, in terms of sport, community, focus, coaching, blah, 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 blah. It's all in the same fucking thing. We're all part of the same thing. And the sooner we can get back in track, because that was what made CrossFit awesome back in the day, which people like me keep harking on about CrossFit back in the day, well, glory years. It was like that because we're all one thing. And the community packed the stadiums and the back end. The vendor villages were full. They were selling out. There was all the food stands were there. The crowd was electric. And there was a reason for that. It's because the community were engaged. So we really need to, as a community, back that and go back to that point where we can enjoy that and still enjoy the contrast and the everyday CrossFit methodology. It should be enjoyed in the same thing. Anyway, I shall be working on that. And Ken, if you've got any ideas for me for when I'm there, please get in contact and let me know, because you are one of the stalwarts of your community. So it'd be really, and you really enjoy the sport and go into them. So let me know some ideas, because I am keen to do as much as I can when I'm there. So anyway, have a lovely afternoon, everyone. If it's afternoon or morning for you on this sunny Tuesday, whether you're up to your Murph prep or just doing a heavy day. Enjoy life, and I will speak to you all very soon.